It is 4 o'clock and we are recording. Good afternoon. Welcome to this session on Lumio game-based activities. I'm going to first go over the different game-based activities that are in Lumio and just talk briefly about what each of them is and what kind of content it can incorporate with your students. And then we'll jump into Lumio itself and have a look at how easy it is to create your first game-based activity. So there are 12 different games within Lumio. A few things to keep in mind about the games. These are played by the students, so they can be played live in class all at the same time while you have the same game on the smart board. For most of them, the version that would be on the smart board would be its own user, just like another student in the class or the teacher version of it. And the kids would work on their own version on the Chromebooks. Of course, they could be projected and just interacted with on the smartboard at the front as well. Now, the two teacher-led ones actually involve the projection and the student devices together. So I've left those to the end, and in this slideshow presentation, which will be available to everybody also, those two are the last slides, and they are the ones that require both the smartboard at the front projecting one thing because it's keeping track of a game, and then also the students on devices. The other activities that there are 10 of them, can be done by the students, like I said, live all together at the same time. They can actually also be done independently by the students on their own time as well. And we'll look at how you can do both of those methods today. So this is the address that students go to log into the Lumio lessons. I'm putting this here so that if you want to jump into my Lumio classroom and have a look at the samples from this session, you can do that. So I've set up one game-based activity for the same topic. So the whole thing is on figurative language and it has the same questions. It's not something you could take and use some of the activities possibly, but like I say, the questions are repeated. But you can jump into mine by going to hellosmart.com and entering in my class ID that you see there. I will launch this lesson live during the session today, and I will leave it up at a student pace so that you can look at that over the next few days if you want to just see what a sample looks like from the student side. So the very first uh, game-based activity is pretty self-explanatory. Fill in the blanks allows you to copy and paste in some text. Then you toggle over and define which words you want to be blanks. Simple as pie. It's really that easy. Just copy and paste it in, pick the words to be the blanks, and then launch it out to your students. And you can see the image of what it looks like to kids below. There's different themes for all of these. So when you get to the final stage in creating a game-based activity, it usually allows you to choose the theme. And if you're feeling extra creative, most of them allow you to create your own custom theme also. So if you're not loving the elementary themes for your older students, you can go in there and create something. Or they also always offer a simple one that is just very plain. So the second one is flip out. This is just essentially flashcards digitally. So you can put something on one side of the card facing up, something on the other side, and then the students can just click on the cards and see what is on the other side. So this could be used in the same way that physical flashcards are used, or students could use them independently just as a form of practice. That's what that one is. The game show is fun. It has them taking turns and answering multiple choice questions. It's not live, so students can actually play this by themselves also if you have this one set to student pacing. And you have the option to put in multiple choice or true and false questions in this. The editor is pretty simple. One drawback is that you have to put the answers in separately, so it doesn't work to copy and paste a list of answers out of a document in. You always have to do each lines separately. That's one drawback to this software. Otherwise, the editor is really easy to use. Label reveal, similar to the flashcards, is just something to interact with. So we can set up an image in the background and then put labels on it. And then the students will click on the little labels to open them up and see what's there. This one's all opened up. If it's not, these would appear just as little closed circles for the students to click on and see those words. So they could maybe read this bit of text, take their guess at what uh, figurative language that is, and then click on it to see if they are correct. Match them up. There's some really fun themes with this one. As you can see, the superhero theme is a little bit newer, and this is just basic matching. So you can put in your two columns to show your items that want to be matched, put them next to each other. All of these, when you put them in, or lots of them, sorry, give you the option to randomize the questions, and that's on by default. So that's kind of nice. You don't really have to think about what order you're putting things in because the system will actually just randomize it out for the students anyway. So easy peasy. You can put the text, you can put images in any of these two where you see this little icon. You can type things in or just add an image to this activity, and that's what the students will see. So once you launch it out, there's what the matching looks like, and they're just going to drag the two items that go together onto the two little superheroes. And if they match correctly, the superheroes uh, have a successful attack on the villain there. And if it is unsuccessful, they bounce back. The villain gets his shot in, and they can re-guess. Memory match is just like the old-fashioned memory game. So these are set up again in matching pairs. I did some with images here to show an example of how those images can be used in place of text. So like I say, anywhere you see this image symbol, you can put an image into that space. So that can be, in some cases, the question, and then, of course, for the answers as well. This one, I didn't put optional category names in or anything. We're just matching up some images. And again, that figurative language that all of these activities are based on. It, when we get a correct answer, it stays flipped over like this. That's that activity. Next is rank order. I really like this one. It wasn't maybe the best for the topic that I had chosen for this set of examples. There would certainly be lots of really great applications across different subjects for putting things in order. You have the ability to adjust these titles. So I went with easiest and hardest. I was thinking of this being sort of an opinion question for students about which of these figurative language pieces they found the easiest to remember and which was the hardest to remember what they were. Like I say, just to show this rank order, being able to sort things from one end to the other could be really useful. And the students get to just move these things around and pop them into the right place. If they're incorrect, they will bounce back out. Speed up is another one that allows you to enter multiple choice or true false questions. And there's some extra things that turn it into a game. Again, this is similar to the other one that they can play in teams. So if they're playing live together, they will split up and actually play together in teams. Otherwise, they can play on their own. The questions are the same to set up as that other editor. All of the question types are basically the same, whether you're setting up multiple choice or true or false. Question in one box, answers in another. As I said before, you can't copy and paste in a list of answers for a multiple choice. They need to be done one at a time. Super sort, if you've been using Notebook for a long time and you remember the vortex sort, this is the new online version of it. There's several themes to choose from, and we can have our two categories and put as many up to 10 items in each. And then they will appear like this for the kids to drag into the right spot. They bounce out when they are incorrect. all of these activities are individual practice or formative activities, so they don't keep track for you. The students will get feedback based on how you set it when you're setting up the questions, and you may choose to not give them feedback on their questions, but they will get that feedback live and instantaneously, and it doesn't actually store a record of these for the teachers. There are other ways to store what the work the students are completing in Lumio, but the game-based activities specifically are just really meant to be played and learned from, other than those 2 that we'll cover at the end that can be teacher-led or need to be teacher-led, I should say, and in which case you would see, that feedback because it's a game show type, activity where they're building up points in teams. So you would see which teams are getting things correct, but aside from that, these don't keep track other than being live in the classroom and seeing how students are doing or asking them to take a picture of the screen at the end and submit it to you would be some ways to check how the students did on these activities. This one is pretty new. I hadn't seen it in when I was in Lumio before, and it looks really easy to use. Put in up to, I want to say 25 words, and you can choose how big the grid is, and there's some difficulty options, and you know, it just puts that word search together for you, and the kids can click and drag on this. So that's another one. While we're looking at this, I also am going to point out this little gray symbol that you'll notice. Anytime you see this, there is a short training video on this specific item from Lumio. So watch for those when you're working on things and in Lumio, the little gray symbol pops up and you can click directly on it and it will pop a little video up right there and show you a quick tutorial on that specific item. So getting into the 2 teacher-led activities. So these are the ones that when you start them as a teacher, the students need to all be logged in live at the same time because you're going to play the games together live as a class. The monster quiz allows you to put in multiple choice and true or false questions. Again, you can use images or text to your liking. And then the team quiz is very similar, just a slightly different setup and different way of playing. So those are the 2 that have to be led by the teacher, set up, and then they would be projected at the front. That will show the teacher view, and the students will each have their own view on their devices also. So that is a quick rundown of what those game-based activities within Lumio are. So I'm going to go ahead now and jump over to Lumio, and we'll look at how easy it is to create one. So remember that you can also access Lumio directly through your Google Drive. So this is where you're working. You can do your new in here, and you're going to also find this Lumio by Smart button right directly in Drive. And then, of course, you can also always just access by going to lumi.io. It defaults to this old address yet, but that will get you to the right place too. We can even bookmark this up here, and that'll make it even more handy. So from here, don't forget to always check out the blue button when you come into Lumio thinking of having an activity for your class. People have been creating all kinds of resources, and that includes smart technologies themselves, and lots of teachers around the world that are using the product. So similar to the Smart Exchange from the old days, this is the new version with the new Lumio online based activities and stuff. And you can see they've got it broken down into categories. So you can do browsing in here if you're looking for some inspiration. And then you can also use the search to find things on specific topics. And you might not even have to worry about creating things because you'll find something amazing someone else has created that you can take and use. These are so easy to use. You open them up, you can have a look at a little bit of a preview. So you can decide ahead if you want this. And then if you want to keep that, you can hit save to my library and it will pop it over into your Lumio library. When you're there on this home page, it'll be right there. It will also be in that Lumio folder in your Google Drive because that is where everything is actually being stored. So to start a brand new activity, I'm just going to go into Add Activities. And in this case, we're looking at just these game-based ones. So there they all are in a list. And I thought we'll look first at this game show one so that we can check out the multiple choice and true false question setup. So right off the hop, it's asking me, do I want to do a multiple choice, true, false, click, and there's my question editor. So we can enter our question in here. You can click here to quickly search for an image, and it will do a nice Bing search and even find some images for you right there if you want to put that in. Obviously put in your questions and your answers. As I mentioned a couple of times, if you're going from something like this over to Lumio, you need to do each answer individually. Copying that whole list in like this is going to put them all into the first answer spot. Also, just make note that by default, it always marks the first one as correct, and then you can just adjust that by choosing the correct answer there. Once you are happy with a question, and I'm it's not going to be happy with this question until it is a question, it will want at least two answers, obviously, for a multiple choice question. And then you'll notice that this blue button lit up as soon as I put the second answer in. This is not what you want to do next unless you're planning on having a one question activity. You actually want to continue adding questions here with the add question button. So when I click this, it's by default going to give me another multiple choice question, but I could toggle it and change it to a true or false here, put in my true or false statement, and then of course make sure I mark the correct answer. When I am finished and happy with all of my questions, I now want to click next. And then here's that toggle that it's asking me if I want it to randomize the question order, which can't see why I wouldn't. So we'll just leave that toggled on and go ahead and click finish. So this one doesn't have different themes you can choose from. It's specifically a game show template set up with a spinning wheel. So there's no choice to choose theme. Normally I would get another next button and I would choose my theme here, but we're just going to hit finish. And it's going to create this activity in my drive. So this is one single activity within a Lumio file. I can leave this as a single activity that I can start with my students. Starting a Lumio activity basically means assigning it, which is essentially opening the activity up within that hellosmart.com domain. I can also continue to build on this by adding more frames. So basically like a slideshow, each of these activities can be built on its own slide. So let's just jump in here and have a look at, we'll do a matching one next. So here it tells me very clearly that it's optional to put category names in. This is where I had done or and simile, and then put my list of items in. So again, I can add text. I can go searching to see, I don't know how a Bing safe search will do with this. Definitions coming up. There's a decent one. So we can add a picture in there. It's going to load that up. Continue on adding in all of my sort things. I'll just get a couple in. See if we can find another metaphor image. Note, refine your search. Really in doubt, pop out to Google search and use that instead. So that's just as easy too. I'm just going to close this. Let's go over to Google Images. I'm not publishing this in the public domain, so I'm not going to panic about copyrights. I'm just going to find a nice picture that I like, and we're going to right click and do Save Image As. Go ahead and save that into my downloads. I love how Chrome puts it right here. And then from Smart, we can click on the little button, upload. Let's find one for Simile. So again, I will right click, save image as, save. It's right there for me. And I believe I did that wrong last time. I can just drop this right here. Now that I have at least two options in each, it's lit up this button letting me know that I could complete this. Also, I have the ability here to decide if I want the answers checked for students instantly, or it will give them a little button saying, see how you did, or check your results. Click next. It will ask me to choose a theme. So here is where if you want to get creative and go in and create a custom theme, you have that ability. You can also choose from one of the nice themes that they have. And then, as I said, they always have this simple theme if that is what you are looking for. Let's go with science and finish. And now I have my two game-based activities added into this lesson. So this is my edit mode. I'm going to hit finish editing to go back to my Lumio homepage. And now here is my untitled lesson that we just did. I'm going to go ahead and hit start. Now this is going to launch this for my students. So now that I've done this, this activity is live. And when students go to hellosmart.com and enter in my class ID, they will be directed to this page. Note that by default, it's put it to teacher pacing, which means the students can't move anywhere in the slideshow without me directing them. So in this example, everybody would log in, they would all complete the game show. When they had all completed it, I would advance to the next activity, and this would advance all of the students. Alternatively, I can turn it to student led, which actually allows the kids to just freely cycle between the activities. They can even open up and see the pages and go between the different pages this way. So that's the biggest difference when you're starting an activity. If you want students to be able to access it without you having to have it on your computer or projected up on the smartboard, you want to launch it, turn it to student paced. At this point, I can go ahead and close right out of Lumio, and the students, when they go in and enter my class ID, will be directed into this specific lesson. So you cannot have more than one of them available at a time, but anything that you put into one single lesson, so you could have many activities and different types of activities. I could have game-based activity on one slide, and I could have some reading to do on another slide, and some manipulatives, etc., etc. There's no limit. The only limit is that I can only have one of these shared with the students at one time. And if I want them to be able to access it independently at their own pace, etc., I want to make sure that I start it and then toggle that over to the student pace, and that will give them that ability. When my students are connected, I can see them here in this panel. Again, can't see a whole lot about what they're doing from this screen in these types of activities. But when we get into further sessions where I'll be looking at individual student handouts and digital manipulatives, and also especially that assessment piece, then we will see how you can see what the students are doing and how it keeps track of some of their work here also. So that is game-based activities in a nutshell. I think the best way to learn is to jump in and just start building something of your own, or even better, head on over to what is their Explore resources now. They don't even have another name for it other than Explore resources, and check out what other people have been building. Even within the manipulative section, you'll find so many things that you can make and take. And a lot of the items that people have been missing, flash objects that went away in the old notebook, are starting to come back in this HTML version. So bookmark this one, check it often. There's some really great stuff in here, and there's new stuff being added all the time also.